Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I'm recording this on October 9th at 9 o'clock. Markets haven't opened yet. We're going to do the pre-market open, and we're also going to go over some of the news in the Middle East, the hurricane, and anything else that pops up. Yeah, a lot of times things pop up that you didn't plan in terms of the news. So please make sure you subscribe to all my channels. I'm trying a new format out, so please help support my work by making sure you follow the channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. In addition, you can follow me on X and on GETTR. I have 2 X feeds. One is Dr. Cottrell, and the other is the Studio-Reykjavik. So please follow me on all those means. I have thousands of videos for free. So it is through the support of your donations that allows me to do this. So please help support my work by donating on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. You can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or Buy Me a Coffee. You can also directly go to the Buy Me the Coffee website through the link that is in the description of this video. In addition, you can be a paid member to my Patreon channel. By being a paid member on my Patreon channel, higher tier members can get access to my pulmonology and immunology lectures. So that's a great way to help support my work and you get informed. Thank you for your support, and I do appreciate it. Now, I also have lots of different products on my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and I'd like to go over some of those products. I'm a big proponent of anti-aging and longevity and health protocols. And it's proper diet, proper supplementation, proper rest, proper mindfulness, training your brain intellectually, talking to people. When you do all these things, proper exercise, balancing, when you do all these things in tandem, what happens is your body can heal itself. You build up a better immune system, better endocrine system, and you are slowing down the aging process. There's 3 pillars to this anti-aging protocol that I have. Neutralize pathogens and improve and boost up your immune system, bring down free radicals and increase your energy levels, and bring down inflammation. By bringing down inflammation also helps to boost up your immune system. And it also helps many other systems like your cardiovascular system. So yeah, this is something I have developed since I was 16 years old, right? I'm a lot older than 16 now. I don't look it, but I'm a lot older than 60. And it works, but you have to follow it. It's about stacking certain types of supplements. Everything I sell, I use. Now, if you have questions, you can, send me a message and I'll try to answer them. But the best way to do it is just to follow my lead. All right. And by following my lead, you're going to be able to boost up your immune system, improve your health, improve your endocrine system. You're going to notice that you're aging slower. You're going to have more energy too. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. We're going into the cold season, so it's really important to mitigate irritations in your throat. All right. The moment you start having an irritation in your throat, get some lozenges or drops. I have Manuka honey lozenges in a 21 count. And I have blueberry, honey and lemon, and cherry in 100 count drops. The moment you have that irritation, either because of an allergy, it's the allergy season, or even the cold season, the moment you have that irritation, you want to take these drops or lozenges. These have structural nanosilver. So what it'll do, it will neutralize the pathogen and create these secretions to maintain the mucosal barrier. When you maintain that mucosal barrier on your epithelial lining, what that does for you is it decreases the chances of getting further infection. You want to mitigate it as soon as possible. Why? If you get sick and it's benign, something that's mild, right? It may last for 5 to 7 days. But it takes 3 weeks to 4 weeks, depending on how severe, to actually heal your cells that have been damaged from the infection. 3 to 4 weeks. The average person gets 3 infections, 3 colds a year. 3 colds a year on average. Mild. That means that 25% of your year is in heal mode. Infection / heal mode. You've wasted 25% of your year by just healing. And then the rest of the 75% is trying to do other cellular processes in healing. But if it's focused on trying to remodel because of an infection, then the immune system isn't as robust. So it's important to reduce the number of times that you get sick, right? So your body's healing and you want to boost up your immune system. It can be done, but you have to be vigilant. And one way to be vigilant is to make sure that you take these lozenges or drops the moment that you have that irritation, right? These are very high quality, right? So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, mitigate that problem during the allergy season or the cold season. So you're reducing the chances of getting further infection. Now, if you have a severe cold, it takes much longer than 3 or 4 weeks to remodel. You may feel better after a week or 2, but it takes a few weeks to remodel. And the worse the cold is, the longer it'll take. All right, and the more inflammation you've built up, and increased inflammation also causes cellular damage in other places in the body. So it actually ages you. You'll notice that people that are sick all the time, they age quicker, and people that have bad immune systems, get sick more often and age quicker. This is part of the reason why. So pay attention to what I'm saying. I know. I practice and know this subject matter very well. So by being a participant, an active participant in anti-aging, and trying to apply it and practice it on my own body, and learning how to improve it by stacking, you can, just by following my lead, you will be able to improve your health. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. I practice what I preach, all right? And that is basically, you can slow down the aging process, improve your longevity, improve your immune system by being vigilant and doing these anti-aging protocols that I talk about all the time. So please go to the store and get the lozenges and drops, all right? Now, I also have toothpaste, structural nano silver toothpaste, whitens your teeth, freshens your breath, helps with the gum line. And with good oral hygiene, you're reducing the chances of cardiovascular disease and valvular disease. Because of the structural nano silver, it's neutralizing pathogens and reducing that plaque. So that's really important. So please go to my store. It's the best toothpaste that you can buy. Way better than anything that Alex Jones sells. Structural nano silver gel, dual purpose product. It can improve your skin by applying it on the skin daily and then exfoliating. Most people, what they do is they put it on the skin at night and then exfoliate in the morning. You'll notice your skin's clearer, and you'll notice that your skin is tighter, especially on your face. In addition, structural nano silver gel can help heal wounds, abrasions, minor burns quicker. Why? Because it keeps the wound clean. In addition, this will help to neutralize pathogens. So you put it on your hands, stays active for 5+ hours, around your mouth, around your nose, around your ears, around your eyes, and lightly coat your nostrils. Very important during the cold season, when you're at work or when you're at home. Trust me on this. It's a very, very good product. And Max 35. Max 35 is a structural nano silver liquid. Take a teaspoon of it a day, swish in your mouth, gargle, swallow. Neutralizes pathogens, maintains the mucosal barrier. Take it every day, all right? If you're not feeling well during the cold season, take a tablespoon or 2 a day. I also have 5 different varieties of structural nano silver soap, very high quality soap made from structural nano silver. All right. The 2 that I have in my hand are the lemongrass and the charcoal tea tree, but I have peppermint and oatmeal spice and the one other one. And these are very high quality. Get a couple bars for your household. They're way better than Dove. Dove has all those chemicals in it. You don't want to do that. The whole idea is to detoxify your body. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Now, what I want to do is I want to just drop into Al Jazeera. You know, this will be very fluid. I'm going to drop into Al Jazeera, and then I want to go to an interview that the Sun did with an ex-official intelligence officer.
To exist as it does as a Jewish demographic majority, which is predicated on the constant removal of Palestinians. It's a pact that's been made within the international community that the expenditure, that the loss, that the cruelty against Palestinians is a price worth paying. And yet Palestinians again and again, every day, in moments of being pummeled and in moments of rising and resistance, have challenged this Western racist discourse, which is blatantly a colonial one, explaining that is not an equation that is viable, and that Palestinians do exist, that Palestinian life is worthy, and that colonialism is still an illegitimate form of governance. I just want to add something in terms of what the law has to say about this. South Africa, apartheid South Africa, the United States, as well as Portugal during its colonial regime, tried to insist that they had a right to use force against their colonies, and they described it as self-defense, and that has been rejected. No colony, no settler colony has the right to use force in order to maintain its territorial holdings, and that is precisely what we're seeing right now. The problem is that colonialism has been made invisible to people so that they don't understand what it is and they don't have the language to use it. And so much of the activism and the scholarship and the work of this past year has been to illuminate that to the world, that we are not in a post-colonial order, but that we continue to exist under colonial regimes.
America, obviously the US governments invariably say that it defends, as we were just saying, Israel's right to defend itself against armed groups like Hezbollah and Hamas and Iran as well. At the same time, of course, the number of predominantly Palestinian civilians who are killed in the crossfire rises and rises. We're now at least 42,000 in Gaza. As allegations of complicity in genocide continue to grow and calls for some sort of accountability, how hard does it become for the US to defend itself against those allegations?
I think that the US has already shot itself in the foot, exposed itself as not only supporting Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people, but being a primary source of it. This is a US genocide against Palestinians. What we're seeing in the expanding war front is that this is a US war against Arab regimes and across the Middle East, a continuation of what we saw in the illegitimate, illegal attack on Iraq in 2003, aimed at regime change, now continuing into the present under the auspices of self-defense, but which we must understand as colonial aggression. Palestinians have not been killed in brutal crossfire. Palestinians have been targeted. They are the target of the attack. Their destruction is the objective of Israel's operation, as much as has been made clear by their deliberate starvation.
Remember many moons ago when I kept on saying the ultra-liberal is going to try to do some Westphalian logic for international affairs to try to demonize Israel and its move for the larger border system. But you got to remember, these events that are taking place are not the will of man. These are the will of a higher power. All right. Now you may have different definitions of that name, you know, that Godhead or whatever. But the point here is that this was predicted for thousands of years, not hundreds of years. All right. World War II ended in 45, 46, 45. Yeah, right. Depending on which theater you're talking about, right? So, well, 40. Yeah, 45, I guess it was, around 45. So It hasn't even been 100 years with World War II. All right, it's just been a little bit over 100 years for World War One. Right, World War One ended in 1918. All right, it's 2024, so we haven't hit the 100-year mark for World War II, and we just passed the 100-year mark for World War One. All right, but these events that are taking place have been predicted have been said that they were going to happen for thousands of years, and we're living through it now. Now, it's in our power to make this a peaceful transition or a bloody transition, but it's going to happen. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what kind of Westphalian logic you spin. It doesn't matter. It's going to happen. Now, the question is will it happen with Israel destroying itself first? And then Israel reconstitutes somehow, some way? Maybe, maybe not. But it's going to happen.
And the attack on their residential buildings, the decapitation of their hospitals so that they cannot even be treated, the denial of safe order, the sniping of children twice in the head, as we've been told, and the continuing strangulation. And so the first and primary objective must be to end the genocide and then to exact accountability for it. So when we say never again, it means never again for anybody and not just those who exist within European society.
Nora, Erica, thank you very much indeed for being with us on Al Jazeera.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Western governments have been accused of hypocrisy with double standards laid bare in their reaction to Israel's war. It stands in stark contrast with Washington's stance against Russia with its war in Ukraine and its diminished credibility to what US administrations like to invoke time and time again, the idea of an international rules-based order. Here's a glimpse of some of that contrast.
So we have made clear that there have been atrocities committed by Russian forces. We support a range of international investigations into Russia's atrocities in Ukraine, including the one conducted by the ICC. The United States fundamentally rejects the announcement today from the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court that he is applying for arrest warrants for senior Israeli officials together with warrants for Hamas terrorists.
I believe most of us share many of the same goals. First and foremost, we want to see an immediate and sustained ceasefire.
Those in favor of the draft resolution raise their hand. Abstention.
It's hard to look at what he's doing in Ukraine, what his forces are doing in Ukraine, and think that any ethical, moral individual could justify that. And being honest about the fact that there have been civilian casualties and that there likely will be more is being honest, because that's what war is. It's brutal, it's ugly, it's messy. I've said that before.
All right.
Yesterday, President Biden said that, in his opinion.
All right. I want to play the Sun interview. I thought this was interesting and insightful here. But it has a bias.
The response this time is not going to be symbolic. This time, I would anticipate that the Israeli response will be much more robust.
Hi, Abby. Thank you so much for joining the call. Very much appreciate it. I was just wondering, if you could tell me a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Yes, my name is Avi Melamed. I'm a former Israeli intelligence official and senior official on Arab Affairs. I'm the founder of Inside the Middle East Institute, providing apolitical, non-partisan education about the Middle East.
Just talking about the Iranian strikes, can you just talk to me about, what you thought when that happened? Were you surprised? What do you think about those strikes?
Look, we have to look at it in the wide context of what has been going on in the region in the last year, but even before the last year, for the last couple of decades. To make a long story short, the Iranian regime is trying to position itself as the superpower in the Middle East, and to that extent, it has created a network of armies of terror called the Axis of Resistance. That includes organizations like Hezbollah, Hamas, and Islamic Jihad, and others. In the last year, following Hamas attack on Israel on October 7, Israel fight back and damage seriously those proxies of the Iranians. For the Iranian regime, this is a bad news. And particularly in the Middle East, and particularly in the last couple of weeks when Israel was smashing Hezbollah, the most significant proxy of the Iranians, to the point the Arab world started to mock Iran and its proxies.
Mm.
For the Iranian regime, and like any other player in the Middle East, sometimes the image of deterrence is not less significant than deterrence itself. So at this point, the Iranian regime finds itself in a place where it basically felt that it has to launch this attack in order to try to restore its declining deterrence image. And because for the Iranian regime, if it's going to be viewed as weak, as it's being viewed across the Middle East today, this is something that could endanger the endurance of that regime.
Mm.
That's their decision to attack.
And also, how will Iran be feeling with, you know, Israel deciding to invade Lebanon in order to, you know, attack Hezbollah?
Already by now, the Iranians are very embarrassed because what happened to Hezbollah. The elimination of the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, and all the military commanders of Hezbollah, the sophisticated attack on the beepers, and endlessly attacks of Israel that basically charged Hezbollah heavy prices. For the Iranians, in the discussion in the Middle East, many people in the Middle East are basically saying that Iran has thrown under the bus its proxies, Hamas and Hezbollah. For the Iranian, again, in order to try to keep a face in the region and to restore the declining image and deterrence, they need to act to basically try to restore. But the issue is that, ironically speaking, it may result in the counter-productive outcome.
And in what way?
Because it's very likely that Israel is going to respond to the Iranian attack, and the response this time is not going to be symbolic as the previous time following the Iranian attack on April 30 on Israel.
And this is what a lot of economists and analysts in the oil market and the shipping industry are focused on right now, because it seems that it's possible. A few things are possible on the table here. Israel hits Iran oil fields. All right. Well, that would mean that the Saudis would have to pick up the difference in the oil market. All right. But a lot of that oil is going to China, right? The Iranian oil. So China is going to put some pressure on the United States to solve this problem. In addition, it seems as though Saudi Arabia might be making deals with China. I have to confirm that for oil export. Now, the retaliation could be that Iran mines the straits, so Saudis can't move their oil. Well, then you're talking about, I don't know, 9 million barrels of oil a day, 10 million barrels of oil a day, not being able to feed the international market. And so oil prices will skyrocket. Oil prices will go up, at least short term, with just a strike on the oil fields in Iran. But if the straits are mined or attacked and ships can't get through, oil tankers can't get through, there's going to be major appreciation in the oil market, and the United States is going to have to go in. All right, so right now oil is trading at about 72 something, 72, 73. all right, for WTI. All right, it was trading at 78 just a couple days ago, so it's been going down a little bit. Now, that could be the news coming from China that their economy sucks, right? And their demand for oil is going to be going down. So that's bringing down the price. So the economy isn't going to be as robust in China, but you have this potentiality of the straits to being mined or the tankers to be blown up by Iran or the Houthis. So that will raise the price. And if Iran decides to knock out oil fields or oil, reserves that are above ground in Saudi Arabia, you're talking about, many months of being able to fix that. All right. Or it could be down for a year. Who knows? Depends on how much the damage is. If it's somewhat benign, it may be just a couple months. But if it's something major, it may be a year. So it depends. And so this can really escalate to maybe $5 or $10 a barrel more. So it's trading at 72. It peaked at 78 during this recent crisis. So I was figuring around 80 or 85 for WTI and 85 to 90 for Brent. All right. But if you're talking about mining the straits, knocking out tankers, or destroying oil fields in Saudi Arabia, you're talking $100, $120 a barrel in WTI, and maybe 130 in Brent, or 140 in Brent. So it could be a big problem. And the United States, if you're listening and you're a pacifist, and just imagine the acceleration of activity by the United States if oil appreciates that fast, and that there can't be a movement of goods, especially oil product, through those straits. Iran will be knocked out 100%. So be careful what you wish for in terms of being a pacifist, because by being a pacifist, Iran's going to say, well, the United States isn't going to do anything. Most of the people in the United States are pacifists. We're just going to knock out some oil wells. Big deal. No one's going to hit us. Well, we lost the deterrence. Pacifism leads to enemies feeling emboldened to do things. So you have to make sure that you maintain deterrence. This is a really important international concept. All right. We lose the deterrence factor if we're not willing to engage, and if we allow Iran to go nuclear. So we have to really pay attention to this. Really pay attention to this. That Israel is going to strike, and it's going to be striking hard. And most likely, the highest probability is going to be military targets and oil fields.
Israel kind of like responded in a very symbolic way. This time, I would anticipate that the Israeli response would be much more robust and much more visible. And for the Iranian regime, the scenario that is very likely to happen, where the whole Middle East will see one day, sometime, the damage that Israel has been inflicting in Iran. When you see it in the Middle East, that has an enormous ripple effect. And so in that sense, I mean, if the Iranian regime is going to be severely attacked by Israel, and it's going to lose strategic assets, and it's going to be very visible and very visual, the meaning of that is that the Iranian regime launched an attack on Israel, hoping to restore its declining deterrence image, but actually what happens in the end is that it's kind of like coming across as very vulnerable and very weak.
Yeah. And
very weak.
Yeah. And you mentioned there that, you know, how Israel will respond. It won't be a symbolic attack, and it will be a robust attack. You know, analysts have been talking today about how Israel might strike, you know, Iran's oil fields, that kind of thing. But also I've been speaking to other experts yesterday about how Israel could potentially launch attacks on Iran's nuclear sites, you know, before they actually create enough uranium and weaponry to actually
It's below ground,
make
no.
a nuclear
It's above
bomb.
ground, yes.
So do you know, when you say that Israel could respond, could they could they attack their nuclear sites?
Well, look, I assume that from a military perspective, such capacities exist. Again, but I don't necessarily think that that will be the target. I think that the Israeli response clearly is going to be coordinated with the United States. And I think that the United States totally understand the need to respond fiercely. However, the United States, I would say, would not like to see an attack on Iran's nuclear facilities or Iran's oil facilities. So I don't think that that will be the target of the upcoming Israeli attack.
Right, okay. And I mean, what would they be striking then if Israel does launch an attack on Iran? What will they be focusing on?
Well, first, you can clearly expect that differently from the Iranian attack that is totally indiscriminately targeting cities and civilians, you could definitely be sure that the Israeli attack will be very much pinpoint. And it will focus on very clear, legitimate targets, such, for example, military bases, infrastructure that is vital for the Iranian military establishment. I would expect, I would not exclude also attacking some governmental symbols of the Mullah regime, and particularly the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard in Iran. So there is no lack of targets, I would say, that Israel could hit, causing the Mullah regime substantial damage, yet not to the point where the Mullah regime necessarily will have to counter-react. Because here there is a fine line of delicate
Markets just opened, and the S&P 500 is 5,747. All right. And the feed that you're seeing on the screen is real time. All right. And what I just read here might be delayed. So the real time is 5/7/48/87. The VIX, which is the risk indicator, that's at 2157. So that's a little bit of elevated risk in the market. So it's gonna there's a little bit of risk, probably because of what's going on with the Middle East and China and the China economic issue. The Euro USD is at 1.095, and oil is trading at 72. So we have a decline in oil prices right now. Now, let's continue with the sun interview here.
To the United States and also to Israel and the region that an Israeli response is inevitable. It should take place. The question is, what kind of a response would it be that on the one hand will send a shocking message to the Iranian regime, that will send a shocking message across the region, but yet at the same time will not inevitably will not lead in an inevitable way to further escalation of the tensions.
And that must be a very difficult, game to play in terms of not going too far, but going far enough. And you mentioned there that they might strike the military, infrastructure. Can you just explain what you mean by military infrastructure for our readers?
It could be missiles base, it could be bases of IRGC, it could be drone factories, it could be anything that has to do with military activities.
Yeah.
It's so
I would
annoying.
expect
Yep.
that, some of those things will be likely part of the targets today.
And just talking kind of more generally about Iran, and
I
then
don't like the way she interviews the guy. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the collagen peptides. There's a scooper in here, and you mix it with water or with food. All right. Sometimes people mix it with milk. You get a great amino acid profile. All right. What this basically does is that it helps to build bone, tendons, ligaments, cartilage, all right, but also skin. It also improves your skin. So I have done several videos explaining how to improve your skin and by using collagen and linking it with vitamin C and drinking 32 or 64 ounces of filtered water throughout the day and using C60 and resveratrol to help build up the basal layer of your skin, and topically using the structural nanosilver gel to improve your skin. So get the collagen, help improve your skin, your nails, your hair, your bones, your joints. Really important. All right. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the collagen peptides. This is a great buy. You get a lot of material here, right? This is big scooper here. So in addition, please go to my store and get the multivitamin that I have. This is an easy to digest multivitamin. Why do you need to take a multivitamin on top of other supplements? Is because with a multivitamin, you're going to get the vitamins that you need that are cofactors for enzymes. So you have enzymes in your cells, and there are minerals and vitamins that those enzymes need as cofactors to be able to have the right conformation so they can do their process properly and efficiently in the cell. People that they have vitamin deficiencies, those cellular processes don't work as well. So it's really important to take a multivitamin. In addition, as we get older, it's hard to digest certain things. This is an easy to digest multivitamin. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get this multivitamin and add it to your daily routine. Now, probiotics. Probiotics are really important to take. Now, this is a veggie cap version. All right. I also have a powder version that's not with me at this moment. And the probiotic helps to reset your gut biome. A good gut biome will bring down inflammation, improve the health of the gut lining. Having a good gut lining means that you'll have a better immune system, because your immune system you have bacteria colonies and stuff in that mucosal layer. You have IgAs, which are a type of antibody in that mucosal layer, and that helps to keep the health of your gut. But if that barrier is reduced, you have less IgAs, you have less good bacterial colonies within your gut, you digest poorly, you get leaky gut syndrome, and in addition, you can cause DNA damage in the cell lining of your gut. Well, when that happens, you build up DNA damage. It may go cancerous and get polyps and tumors. All right, so you don't want that. All right, trust me, you don't want that. So you need a good gut biome. In addition, a good gut biome will allow for proper absorption of nutrients and metabolism. Your body needs to work in conjunction with your gut and your liver. They need to communicate. Also, mood and mental clarity improves with a better gut biome, and your skin will improve with a good gut biome. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the probiotic. This is in the veggie cap form. And lastly, it's important to take a vitamin B complex supplement. Why? Well, you need good, healthy mitochondria. The first 5 B vitamins, B1 through B5, help with the electron transport chain of your mitochondria. All right, that's where you build that ATP, where you get that energy source that your cells need. All right. If you don't have good ATP, you're going to have lack of energy, and your neurons aren't going to shoot off those neurotransmitters as fast, and you'll have neurodegeneration. All right. As we get older, our mitochondrial health goes down, and that's part of the mechanism, not the only part, but part of the mechanism of neurodegeneration. But also, your muscles need a lot of ATP. Well, if your mitochondria is not healthy, you can't have healthy muscle mass. You'll atrophy. Your immune system needs ATP. So your immune system starts to atrophy. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the vitamin B complex to maintain neural health, to improve your energy levels and your cellular metabolism. Please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video.
Capabilities in terms of they are, forming uranium. They want to make a nuclear bomb, but right now they don't have the right infrastructure. But what would happen if Iran, if Israel got intelligence that Iran was about to make an Iranian nuclear weapon? Would it be then that they, could strike nuclear bases? I'm not talking about this week, but in the future, if they feel that threatened.
Look, I mean, Israel constantly said that it would not enable Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Obviously, now that you see that we are dealing with a brutal, dangerous regime that is attacking countries with hundreds of ballistic missiles, you can further understand why Israel has such a good reason not to allow Iran.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and
not to allow Iran to have a nuclear military capacity. But it's not only Israel, it's the world. And this is the most significant thing. This is a very pivotal moment. This is a moment of truth, for too long, Western powers chose not to confront this regime. They're kind of like kicking the can down the road, thinking that some strange mindset that, well, it's not really our problem and, it will solve by itself or whatever. But what we saw constantly all those years, many years, of the Iranian aggression, that the situation only became worse and worse. And it goes back to a very simple lesson that, every person that still has functioning mind knows if you don't deal with a bully when it's little, you will have to deal with the bully when it's big.
If Israel does retaliate in a strong response, as you said, what would happen then? What is the worst case scenario? Could there be a war between global powers eventually?
Of course.
Is that, one of your fears? Could that happen?
I tell you,
Well, look, it's definitely a possible scenario, but not necessarily inevitable one. But again, I mean, we are witnessing the situation where it has the potential to further escalate. And I wouldn't go into the place of, some people are talking about it as a global war, WW3. I wouldn't necessarily go there. But I would definitely say that
he's wrong.
Assuming there is going to be
the reason why it could be, is it inevitable that it'll be World War III? No. Is it inevitable that Iran's getting knocked out? Yes. Is it inevitable that it's World War III? No. The problem comes in is that what's going on in that region could cause a perturbation in Asia where it will go World War III. All right. And a great way to do that is to knock out the oil wells in Saudi Arabia by Iran. And this could escalate much farther. Now, this is the reason why I kept on saying everyone in the world is being judged. And some people are going to be blessed Some people are going to be cursed. And it's not as simple as just blessed and cursed. Sometimes you're getting cursed first and then you get blessed. And sometimes you get blessed first and then you get cursed. But we're going to be making decisions. And if we make the wrong decision, and in America, for example, because the whole world is being judged at the nation level and at the individual level. If you're a pacifist and you're not focusing on knocking out Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran, you will be cursed. This nation will be cursed economically, in industrial capacity, and Mother Nature issues, internal strife within our politics, the battle between conservatives and liberals, an erosion of our government pillars like the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. A lot of things can happen. And a lot of Americans don't realize that America has been blessed for many years. Yes, of course, we are hardworking, right? But the thing is that it's through blessing that we have been able to be so prosperous. And we're a very fortunate nation. But that doesn't mean it lasts forever. And the way we handle things may take away that blessing. And I think people would change really quick. So this idea of being a pacifist in this case, I think is wrong. I think our engagement with the whole NATO expansion and funding Ukraine is wrong. But helping with this situation in the Middle East, this is an existential threat to the whole world. Putin's not an existential threat to the whole world. But Islamic terrorism is. It's a cancer. And it's been a cancer for a long time, going way back to Saladin, and the Crusades. So we need to wake up here. And this can boil into Asia. And I have explained many times that if this event boils into Asia, or Xi feels as though he needs to make his move on Taiwan and try to push back the hegemonic power of the U.S. naval fleet, you're talking about World War III. That's World War III right there. So that's why people need to start focusing. And I've been saying, I said this in 2020. I said that the whole issue that happened in 2020 may embolden in 2025 President Xi to make his move. We're just looking at conventional warfare right now. Just imagine what happens with unconventional warfare: biologics, chemical, radiological, maybe even weather. Who knows?
Response. Then the ball will be at the court of the language. And following that, the Iranian regime decision how to react to assumingly upcoming Israeli response would, to a large extent, dictate the trajectory down the road, and particularly in the context of the United States role. Because if we will find ourselves in a scenario of a wide open war between Israel and Iran, the United States will have to step in. And so that will be a situation where the calculations have to be meticulously done by all the sides involved, and particularly by the Iranian regime. Because the Iranian regime is very vulnerable in many ways, and Israel, let alone the United States, could simply hit that regime to the point it will collapse. If there will be, and I don't think that will be the case in the upcoming Israeli response, but if there will be an attack on the Iranian regime oil infrastructure and some other strategic infrastructure. And that would definitely could result in a generated process, a rapid process that will lead to the downfall of this region.
And you mentioned there that, you know, Iran is vulnerable. How is Iran vulnerable? Just expand on that point.
Now, I'm sure Ritter, if he was, you know, watching this guy talk, he would just say, well, he's just propaganda for Israel. I'm telling you, Scott Ritter is wrong about what's happening. He's right about what's happening in Europe. He's wrong with what's happening in the Middle East and this forward assault by Israel on Lebanon to kill Hezbollah and striking Iran's capability, right? He keeps on saying Israel is going to be defeated and all this. I don't think that's going to be the case. I really don't think that's the case. He's been pretty accurate with what's going on in Europe, and maybe that's, you know, maybe that's his shtick. I don't know, but the thing is, he seems to be awfully wrong on Israel. Now, maybe it's because he's biased. I don't know, but he's not right. I mean, he's obviously not right. I mean, they destroyed the command and control of Hezbollah. Israel destroyed the command and control of Hezbollah, and you're hearing all over the news now that Hezbollah is weaker. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be a walk in the park when they start going in massively into Lebanon. You know, they have done some incursion, they've been doing a lot of strikes, but the main invasion has not happened yet. It has not happened yet. All right. So yeah, I'm a little surprised that it hasn't yet, but the thing is, it probably will happen after Sukkot, which is going to be around October 23rd, October 24th. All right. So that's when I think the big assault is going to happen. But in the interim, there may be some situation with Israel and Iran may hit Tel Aviv. But it gets to the point that you got to live again, even in Israel, there's curses. You know, Israel's nation could be blessed, but there could be curses within Israel. And there's this battle between the ultra liberal and the conservative, or the observant. Let's use it as the term observant, but it's like a conservative movement if you want to use it in terms in the United States. There's a conservative movement or an observant Jew movement in Israel, and there is this ultra liberal that doesn't observe the commandments. All right, they're non-observant Jews. They're pseudo intellectuals that believe in some Westphalian bullshit. All right. Now, you know, there's that typical New Yorker that just, you know, reads the New York Times and then thinks they're an intellectual. Reading the New York Times doesn't make you intellectual. So these ultra liberals are given a chance, and on Friday is when Yom Kippur starts. They're given a chance to repent and to make good and move towards observance. They don't have to be Orthodox, but at least do something and stop being such a crazy fucking liberal. But what is going to happen, I think, is that many of them are going to keep on saying apartheid and, you know, Gaza, you know, two-state solution and all this crap, which is antithetical to what is predicted in the Zohar and in the Bible and other Kabbalistic texts that are very old. All right. Not the UN, which is, you know, less than 100 years old. These texts are where it's at. All right. They're telling you what's going to happen. Now, it doesn't give you like the exact detail. Again, Israel may be cursed to the point where it's actually absolutely destroyed. But in that process, there may be other nations around it that are destroyed, and that sounds nuclear to me. All right. And that maybe that whole region reconstitutes where Ishmael and Isaac rebuild the region. You know, and it goes to those biblical times. Maybe there needs to be a major purge of the people in all of the nations, including Israel, for this to happen. I don't know. I do know this, the Israeli borders are going to the biblical time borders. That's going to happen. No doubt in my mind. Now, it seems that what Netanyahu is doing is going to lead to a larger conflict in that region that will bring other nations involved, the United States involved, and it'll change the power dynamic in that region, where there will be a larger border system that goes back to what is circumscribed in Numbers and Ezekiel. And then you're talking about bringing down the Dome of the Rock and rebuilding the temple. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow, but it may happen in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. This is a step process. And we're not sure if there's going to be a nuclear exchange, which is possible. So maybe there's a nuclear exchange, and 50 years or 100 years later, there's a reconstitution of Saudi Arabia and Israel. Who knows? But a nuclear detonation in a major oil region causes a big problem. All right, because it's really going to be hard to put gasoline in your car. All right, the whole dynamic of the world is going to change, totally change. So was it better to be a pacifist, or was it better to be proactive and knock out Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas? Now do you understand the wisdom of the Rebbe? Because what the Rebbe told Netanyahu in the early 80s, what not to do to be successful, is what Israel did. They didn't follow. Hold on, I gotta plug this in. They didn't follow what the Rebbe warned them. They didn't follow in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, the 2020s, and they failed. Now they have a chance. Now, what's amazing is how the Rebbe knew that it was Netanyahu that was going to make this move. Yet he talked to him when he was a UN representative in the early 80s. Now, figure that one out. You're talking about someone that saw something happen 40 years before it happened. Now, do you think Ritter is more accurate, or do you think the Rebbe is more accurate? Because I'm pretty sure the Rebbe is much smarter than Ritter. People need to wake up. What's going on here? Oh wait, before I start,
different aspects first.
That's my riff on that. Before we go back to this interview, please go to my store, blood-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the vitamin C. This helps with your skin, but it also helps to boost up your immune system. If you're not feeling well, take a double dose. Drink it with filtered water. Magnesium and zinc also boosts up your immune system. If you're not feeling well, take a double dose during the cold season. Also drink it with filtered water. Resveratrol helps to get rid of senescent cells. It's an antioxidant, and it helps with mitochondrial health. It's synergistic with C60 and other supplements that I mentioned that help to boost up your mitochondrial health. So please go to my store and get the resveratrol. I've been taking resveratrol for decades. Omega-3. This is a dual purpose product. How? It'll bring down your LDL and HDL levels. It'll bring down your HDL levels and it'll bring down your LDL levels, and I'm tired. It'll bring down your LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. All right, so omega-3 will improve your lipid profile, brings down your bad cholesterol, increases your good cholesterol. All right. Omega-3 also helps to prevent your red blood cells from sticking. All right. That means that you're reducing clots. And people have clot problems, especially in the aftershock of 2020. All right. So if you listen to me, I'll navigate you through the problem. I'm good at this. All right. I'm very accurate and very comprehensive on this. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, bring down your LDL levels, increase your HDL levels, and prevent those red blood cells from oversticking. All right. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the omega-3. This is synergistic with nattokinase, and I'll talk about nattokinase in a few minutes.
It's totally dependent upon its oil revenues. Second, Iran is a semi-arid country. It is a very significant challenge of water, which causes constantly unrest across Iran. Iran is huge in its territory. Also, there is many dysfunctioning or partially functioning national level systems or infrastructure. Like electricity supply, water supply, and stuff like that. So in many different aspects, the regime has many Achilles heels, so to speak, soft targets. But also, in addition to that, we have to remember that there is a constant unrest in Iran because the majority of the Iranians clearly would love to see this regime goes down. And this is a total regime that is oppressing the Iranian people. There are minorities in Iran that are badly oppressed by the Mullah regime, the Baluchis, the people in Kazakhstan. So there are many points of weakness that the Mullah regime is aware of. And hence the understanding.
All right, I just got an email from the Harvard Crimson, all right? And there was an incident on campus where someone sprayed red or put red paint on John Harvard's pedestal and broke the window behind John Harvard at the hall there, the Harvard Hall. So there was vandalism and the breakage of the window. That happened on, I believe, October 7th. So there was a statement that was made by the Harvard Undergrad Palestinian Solidarity Committee. All right. And they stated that they're for Gaza and, basically, Israel bad. So let me just read the synopsis of this. So the President Garber is the new president. So Garber criticizes PSC statement, so Palestinian Solidarity Committee. So Garber criticizes PSC statement. In an interview with the Crimson, Harvard President Alan M. Garber, 76, that was when he graduated from Harvard, criticized the statement by the Harvard Undergraduate Palestinian Solidarity Committee, which stated that Hamas's attack on October 7th was the day Gaza broke through Israel's blockade. Though he described it as offensive, Garber said he would not issue a university response to the PSC's statement. So, and just imagine as Israel starts to blow up stuff in Lebanon and in Beirut and move forward and destroy Hezbollah and strike Iran, I'm pretty sure that these protesters that are pro-Palestinian and pro-Hamas, pro-Hezbollah, they're going to start doing their protests again. Now, I think the Democratic Party has told them, keep it at bay during this whole election process, and after the election, then let it rip. So I suspect that after November, you're going to start seeing protests. Now, what month? I don't know. Depends on what transpires on the battlefield. But I think there will be more. I think we'll start seeing similar protests that we had earlier this year. So stay tuned, because the Palestinian, protesters are chomping at the bit waiting for their opportunity.
Severely damaged. The accumulative impact of something like that could be potentially the downfall.
Good morning, everyone. Ready for the big meeting?
I have to write this project plan.
I just need to reply to 40 emails. Linda? Oh, their date disappeared. Too many emails, messages, docs. That's why I have Grammarly. It's AI that helps me write.
That could be potentially the downfall of the
Do you feel like the West and the US especially have done enough to thwart Iran, you know, to stop them, to kind of stem their power? Because obviously Iran has got so many of these proxies.
No, we've been whining. We've been whining that they were going to have a nuclear weapon, but we didn't do anything about it. We actually gave them money, saying that, you know, if we give you money, like 150 billion, that, you know, most likely you're not going to use it for nuclear capability and all this stuff. And we'll ease sanctions and all this. The Obama administration got us to this point. But it's not just the Obama administration. It's the Bush administration, Bush Jr., that couldn't get the job done in Iraq and Afghanistan. We didn't win at Iraq and Afghanistan. Not even close. Not even close. But it'll be spun in the American media that we did, but we didn't. Look at what with Clinton. He was weak. He was weak when it came to using the military. Bill Clinton. Now, take a look at George Bush Sr. He gets, you know, he had this idea, well, let's get Iraq out of Kuwait and decimate the military and then go home after 100 hours instead of actually knocking and decapitating Saddam Hussein. Because if he did that, we wouldn't have maybe had the war in Iraq post 9/11. So again, US failure. But what about go all the way back to the Beirut bombing with the Marine barracks and how Reagan was afraid? Or look at recently with Donald Trump. And I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. Why? Because of the lawfare that the Democratic Party unleashed on him. But he's not perfect by far. But I think America will be better off in the long run with him than with Kamala. But he even failed. He was afraid to knock out Iran. We've had many presidents that fucked us up, and it's time to get the thing done. It's time to get this done because it's only going to get worse. Only going to get worse. If any of those presidents were able to do regime change in Iran and destroy their nuclear capability, it would not have had the higher probability of the engagement of China. But now, because China has been built up and they built up their military and they have their eyes on Taiwan and the first island chains, our eye is not just on the Asian theater. We got to deal with the problem in the Middle East. And so we're stretching thin our troops, and especially our Navy. Big problem because of failure at the presidential level because of being a pacifist. This is how we get to this point. And this is why the Ribby said, don't be afraid, don't be hubris, and don't listen to the international community and get the fucking job done. Now, I'm sure he didn't say get the fucking job done. But the point here is that that's the only way out of this. Talking and being a pacifist is not going to get the job done. Pretending you're some sort of pseudo-intellectual and you're going to try to spin it that Israelis are losing on the battlefield and that, the reality of the situation war is hell for everybody, and there's going to be people that die, and there's going to be collateral damage, and it's going to be inflationary, and things get blown up. But there is such a thing as it may be worse down the road if we don't do it. And all the data points suggest that's the case. If you really care about the Palestinians, if you really care about the Palestinian health and well-being, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran need to be destroyed. Because unfortunately, the Palestinians have been held hostage by the PLO. And its manifestations in Hamas.
So many proxies that, you know, is in their pay pocket. Do you think that the US and West have done enough?
Well, I mean, when you see the reality on the ground, and particularly what's happening right now in the Middle East, the answer is very clear. The answer is no.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And how does that make you feel?
Look, as a professional analyst, and I have been for years warning about that. In fact, in my most recent book, Inside the Middle East, Entering a New Era, that was published in 2022, I specifically portrayed that scenario that we see today. And I was very clearly indicating that the road leads there. It is very unfortunate and very frustrating to see that policymakers in the West, for whatever the reason, chosen not to confront this enormously alarming reality. And there are different reasons for that. The bottom line, but in the end of the day, is going back to the whole issue of the lessons that we should take from the situation. And the lesson is, again, it's a lesson that we kind of like a little bit the West has forgotten. A pissing, brutal regime doesn't end well. And there is a time where you need to stand and confront such a regime, because if you fail to do that, the price involved is going to be much higher, including for you, meaning the person or the factor that wants to restrain that brutal regime. But it's very clear that there has been unwillingness of Western power to seriously confront them.
And when you say confront the regime, what actually needs to be done? What needs to be done to bring down Tehran?
There should be a very tight sanctions with no alleviation or any concession of any sort. Tightening sanctions, suffocating sanctions, non-compromising diplomatic boycott all across the board in every possible aspect. In other words, using relentlessly every possible non-military handle of pressure. And making clear to the Iranian regime that the military option is real. And if the Iranian regime wants to survive somehow, it has to comply with what the world is saying.
It's never going to comply. That's why it needs to be destroyed.
The interests of the international community. But the Western policymakers clearly failed to do that.
And with the invasion of Lebanon, that decision by Israel, what is their end game now? What are they, what are Israel wanting to do now? What's their end game?
The end game is to enable Israeli citizens who live in North Israel.
The military and even Netanyahu, it wants to create a security bubble that allows them to have people move back into their dwellings in the northern front, into the Golan Heights area. and also, I think also purge the West Bank. Now, how many years of purging, I don't know. So there is kind of like a movement of getting the Palestinians out of the West Bank, maybe into Gaza, and securing the northern front. Now, the northern front, securing the northern front, if Hezbollah and Hamas is destroyed, and Iran doesn't have a long arm proxy, so Israel most likely needs to also knock out the Houthis. And again, the Yemenites are not friends with the Saudis. The Saudis don't like Yemen, so the Saudis might get involved in this. So the point here is that Israel is moving to neutralize the ability of Hamas and Hezbollah to shoot the rockets. But that sets the stage for purging of Palestinians out of the West Bank and a further border control or further land control by Israel. But I think what's going to happen is that as they're doing this, it creates such additional conflict in the region that other nations are going to be involved. Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, all these countries, the United States, UK, there's going to be a lot of countries that are going to be involved in this. And that border some of the Israel's border is going to be lost and some of it is going to be gained. But what is going to be weird about this is that I think that this conflict is going to move the borders to biblical circumscribed borders. That these borders, these modern borders that we have, are going to actually snap to, move towards biblical borders. That means some land is actually going to be lost by Israel, and a lot of land gained by Israel. So that's my take on it. Now, I could be wrong, and it may take many decades for this to happen. But there's a short term and long term. The short term is that the military is looking to neutralize the rocket launches, and that means eliminating Hamas and Hezbollah, and eliminating Iran's capability of financing terror. All right, so that means that they need to neutralize Yemen too, through the Houthis. Longer term is that there's going to be this push for controlling Jerusalem and controlling the West Bank, which is going to add more conflict and more strife in the region. Now, if they really, go at it with Iran, this may speed up really quick, and there's so much activity going on against Israel and all these other nations that you literally have a major war. I mean, not just a war between two small nations, like Lebanon and Israel, but a major war that involves all actors in that region that probably would spill over to other areas of the world, especially Asia.
To be able to go back to their homes and live their life like normal people. There is international United Nations Security Council resolutions 1555, 57, and 1701 that clearly ordered the Lebanese government to deploy the Lebanese army along the border and to make sure that the Hezbollah will remain north of the Litani River. The Lebanese government, which is kind of like a ridiculous entity, because Lebanon is a facade. Lebanon, the real boss in Lebanon is Iran and Hezbollah, or hopefully one day has been. But for now, they kind of like control all the Lebanese government agencies and decision-making position and centers of power. And so the bottom line is that because of the failure of the state called Lebanon, because of the takeover of Lebanon by Iran and the Hezbollah, Israel has the one that has to pay the price for that. This is unacceptable and inconsiderable. There is no reason why Israeli citizens should pay for the incompetence and corruption of the inner political system in Lebanon. And if that system cannot make sure that its neighbor from the south, namely Israel, will have the right to live calmly and peacefully, then Israel has to act in order to make it happen. So the end goal here is very clear. To create conditions that will enable Israeli civilians. There are some 60 or 70,000 Israeli citizens that became refugees because of the Hezbollah's attack on Israel. And to enable those people to go back to their homes, to their communities, to restore their lives, and so on. And the only way to do that, since, as I said before, no one is imposing resolutions of the Security Council, Israel has no other choice but to do it itself. And it has to be done militarily because there is no other.
How will Hezbollah be feeling, since the invasion of Lebanon?
Look, the Hezbollah now in a very dire situation. It has been severely beaten. For many years, the Hezbollah basically built itself not only as a Lebanese superpower, but as a regional superpower. The Hezbollah is involved in other arenas, in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen. It became the cornerstone of the Iranian regime.
This is why this whole web of Islamic terror, and and the seeds of it are in the PLO. It's in Arafat and all this stuff. The sad thing is Sharon could have killed Arafat on the battlefield, and he didn't. He let him go, and there wouldn't be a PLO. And so here again, and it says in the Bible that people try to, people don't finish the job, and then it comes back to haunt them. And we're living through it right now. If Sharon killed the Arafat on the battlefield back in the 60s, they wouldn't have had this fucking problem. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get vitamin D3. Why? It helps to absorb calcium. It is a gene expression cofactor, so that allows for cellular processes to be performed. In addition, it also helps to get rid of apoptosis, or it is used to get rid of cells that need to go into apoptosis. All right. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the vitamin D3. I take this every day. I take 2 soft gels, one in the morning and one in the evening. But based on your BMI, it depends on how much D3 you need. Ashwagandha root. This helps to bring down inflammation. How? Brings down cortisol levels, brings down your glucose levels. And when you do that, it'll reduce that inflammatory response. It'll help with the immune system. Ashwagandha root is synergistic with turmeric. Turmeric is an antioxidant, but it also brings down inflammation. Very important, because Americans are chronically inflamed. If you have a chronically inflamed gut, you're going to have problems. Digestive problems, mucosal layer will be inadequate. You'll get sicker often, and you'll get leaky gut and DNA damage with chronic inflammation. So you want to bring down that inflammation and boost up your immune system. So turmeric is a great way to do it, and it's an antioxidant, so it soaks up free radicals. And lastly, olive olive leaf extract, dual purpose product, helps your immune system and your cardiovascular system. How? By bringing down inflammation. Are you noticing a theme? Bring down inflammation, neutralize pathogens, soak up free radicals. That's how you get better health. Olive leaf extract helps the immune system by bringing down that inflammatory response. In addition, it'll also help to bring down LDL levels and HDL levels and increase your HDL levels. So it helps to bring down your LDL levels, your bad cholesterol, and helps to increase your good cholesterol, your HDL levels. So by doing that, if you have less LDL, then you have less LDL that can be oxidized. If you have less LDL oxidized, that means you have less plaque buildup. That means you have a better cardiovascular system. It's synergistic with nattokinase and omega-3. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, improve your immune system and improve your cardiovascular system by taking the olive leaf extract.
Imperialistic vision. And so in the Arab world, which to a large extent loathed Hezbollah, because the involvement of Hezbollah in the war in Syria, because the fact that the Hezbollah kidnapped Lebanon, because the fact that the Hezbollah dragged Lebanon and its people time after time to destruction and death and havoc. In the Arab world, Hezbollah is very much loathed. And so, but it was very much also, they were afraid of Hezbollah because Hezbollah was really able to position itself as a regional power. So it's no wonder that when Israel smashed so hard the Hezbollah in such a short period of time by taking out all of its leadership, the famous story of the Beeper attacks, the hundreds of field commanders of Hezbollah that basically were hunted one after the other by Israel very precisely. In the Arab world, they are celebrating the defeat of the Hezbollah. Not less significant is that in Lebanon, most of the Lebanese resent Hezbollah, loathe Hezbollah. And the Lebanese urged Hezbollah during all this year, do not drag us to this war. This is not our war. Hezbollah, of course, ignored the Lebanese because Hezbollah has got used to do whatever Hezbollah in Iran wants to do in Lebanon. All the rest doesn't concern them. So now, when everybody sees Hezbollah lying on the floor, severely damaged, in the Arab world, they're talking about it in almost in terms like they kind of like compare the Israeli the damage that Israel caused to Hezbollah. They're comparing it to something that is almost equal as to the Israeli triumph in the war in 1967. And so in Lebanon, obviously, as you can imagine, now there is a very strong backwind for the Lebanese.
And that's very important
all those
because the warning by the Rebbe started with that whole Yom Kippur War. All right, you know, the war, the Yom Kippur War the Yom Kippur War was in the 70s. The 69 war, the 67 war was before that, so it's before the Yom Kippur War. But either way, the point here is that the Rebbe warned in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. He dies, all right, in the 90s. So he stopped warning people because he's dead, right? But the thing is that people didn't listen, right? I believe it was in 67 where he told the generals, go to Damascus and show deterrence show force and create deterrence against the Muslims that were fighting against Israel in 67. They didn't do that. They weren't willing to do that. So this problem of being fearful and not listening to advice, saying, you know, if you do these things, there will be a cascade of events that take place that will be positive. If you don't do these things, then there will be a cascade of events that are very negative, and it's going to cause more problems. Now, you can take parables in the Bible that are very, very similar, that people didn't do something and they had to go through an extraordinary amount of effort to undo, and it cost much more time, money, effort, people's lives, everything, right? We're living through that now. There were things that were supposed to take place in 67 that didn't take place, even though Israel was victorious. And it emboldened, and then eventually it had the Yom Kippur War, and Arafat starts to rise in notoriety, the building of the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, and that metastasizes into this Hezbollah, Hamas problem that is in our midst today, because certain Israelis were afraid to do certain things in 67. Even though that they were victorious, they didn't do certain things that the Rebbe told them to do. So don't be surprised that when you don't listen to wise advice, that bad things happen. And the wise advice here is get the cancer out before it metastasizes. Make sure Iran doesn't go nuclear. Get rid of the theocratic regime in Iran. That is our mission. And anyone that wants to spin it in some Westphalian BS is only kicking the can down the road.
We want our country back. We want to restore our Lebanon. We want to restore sovereignty. Our sovereignty was stolen from us, kidnapped, hijacked by the Hezbollah. So definitely right now, as we are talking, I can see very clearly this picking up, this momentum. Obviously, you know, Hezbollah cannot go back to the October 6th reality of Lebanon, where he was the big boss and that's it. Things have changed. And so one of the interesting things to see will be, of course, how the Hezbollah is going to interact with the inner Lebanese system under the new circumstances. System under the new circumstances following his agonizing defeat. This is one of the major things to follow, because this thing has also a major ripples effect when you look at other areas like Syria, the borders, Lebanon, also the Iraqi arenas. Because in those arenas, as you may recall, there are locals who actually are very resentful and, you know, rejecting the Iranian interference or the Iranian rule. For example, in Syria right now, and it's not a coincidence. One of the things that I've noticed is that now there is some sort of like momentum of the Syrian rebels that are saying now that the Hezbollah has been defeated, now it's our time to resume in a large volume the war against the Iranian proxies in Syria and against Assad regime. Assad himself, interesting enough, is totally silent vis-a-vis what happened to Hezbollah. Even though the Hezbollah was one of the major factors that actually, at the end of the day, saved Assad rule.
And that's really interesting what you just said, how with Hezbollah on the back foot now, where Israel has kind of, you know, gone in with this strong hand, and that actually could mean that, you know, the proxies are turning against Iran itself. So that could, you know, could this be, you know, the beginning of a new age almost of you know, these these proxies turning against Iran?
Well, no, it's not that the proxies are turning against Iran, but basically what it does is that it's because of the fact that two major proxies of Iran, Hezbollah and Hamas, are so severely beaten, and particularly the defeat of Hamas, of Hezbollah. The outcome of that is that it gives a momentum and a backwind to existing voices and factors in the arenas that are controlled by Iran, namely Lebanon and Syria and Iraq. These are factors that are basically constantly reject the Iranian intervention. And so now with the weakening of the axis of resistance following the major blow that Israel caused Hezbollah and Hamas, and the declining image of the Iranian
This
deterrence,
is why it's very possible that mercenaries, special forces to hire, kind of, like Blackwater, get involved and work with the Lebanese military to do a two-front offensive against Hezbollah. So it's the Israelis and the Lebanese army. Now, it's a theory. It's maybe on the table to actually implement. Who knows? I heard that they're trying to push people away from the coastal area. So it sounds like Israel wants to do a sea invasion by sea, and also a land invasion from the south. So it's going to be a two-front war. But I wouldn't be surprised that mercenaries get involved in this to try to bolster up the Lebanese army, because the Lebanese army and Hezbollah are two different things. And this is why it's complicated in Lebanon, that Hezbollah has taken over the Lebanese people, just like Hamas took over the people of the Palestinians, right? And Hamas and Hezbollah are offshoots from this whole PLO crap with Arafat.
It probably will be further declining following an expected Israeli upcoming attack. That will give a backwind to all those factors in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq that are basically opposing the Iranian intervention. They want to kick them out or to limit the intervention. So it will be very interesting to see how that will be translated on the ground.
And so what would be the repercussions of that?
If in the Lebanese system we are going to see a new picture where the Hezbollah is not any longer the one that makes the call, where the Lebanese really have the ability to control their life, to decide when do they want to go to war and who do they want to do peace with. Obviously, this is a very dramatic change. Syria, if the rebels are going to resume massive attack against the Iranian-backed proxies, and if Assad will decide that maybe this is the time to start detaching himself more and more from the Iranian hug, a process that, by the way, already exists, and turn to the Arab world, who basically rehabilitated Assad, but up until now did not translate this rehabilitation into financial investment as Assad was hoping, because the Arab world is still waiting for Assad to detach itself from the Iranians. That could be another significant development. In other words, if all those things are going to happen and are going to result in increasing pressure on the Iranians and their proxies, the meaning of that is that the diminishing ability of the Iranians and the proxies to continue to dictate the radical agenda as they have been able to do for the last couple of decades. The more that capacity diminished, the better, because it means more stability. That is the potential ramifications or repercussions of the cracking of the and weakening of the axis of resistance and the Iranian regime. Some people already in the Arab world, too soon, very too soon, to my opinion, are rushing in and talking about the collapse and disintegration of axis of resistance. That is a very exaggerating evaluation. The axis of resistance is here and it's still here, and the Iranians are still here. But the issue is, at the end of the day, to create a new balance where that negative, destructive factor does not have the ability any longer to be the only player on the field.
And my final question, I promise. What is your biggest fear now?
Iran and Hezbollah can cause Israel significant damage in terms of destruction and death and so on. When you are shooting hundreds and hundreds of missiles, ballistic missiles on cities, up until now, Israel and the US-led coalition were successfully intercepting those missiles, but the outcome could have been, or could be, much more severe in terms of life loss. But, you know, sometimes you just have to do the right thing.
Warning, don't believe the AI trading hype until you watch this entire video. Hi, I'm Lane Mendelsohn. I'm the president of Vantage Point AI.
All right, so I thought that was a good interview, but she was annoying with her. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the digestive enzyme complex. Why? It breaks up carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. This puts less stress on your pancreas. Right? As we get older, we have our pancreas not as active, it's not as robust, and it needs a little bit of help. So digestive enzymes are enzymes that'll break up enzymes that the pancreas would have made, like to break up carbohydrates or proteins or lipids. All right. So when you do this, when you take this, you're putting less stress on your pancreas, but you're helping with the absorption. Now, if you work out, this will, by taking this, especially if you're an athlete or semi-pro athlete or bodybuilder, but if you work out, you'll recover quicker by taking a digestive enzyme complex because you're breaking up the nutrients you need to fuel your muscles again. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the digestive enzyme complex so you put less stress on your pancreas. And in addition, it has bromelain in it. That's fibrinolytic, so it'll help to break up clots. And because of its proteolytic, it will break up glycoproteins. Now, this was important to take during the 2020 crisis. Why? Because it breaks up proteins and it's fibrinolytic. Now, do you understand why I kept on saying follow the protocol when you were going through the crisis, in the aftershock of the crisis? So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the digestive enzyme complex. Lignans helps to boost up your immune system. How? By lowering inflammation, and it's antioxidant. In addition, it also helps with hormonal health for males and females. Our endocrine system and our immune system are disrupted because of our daily life and the aftershock from the 2020 crisis. We need to boost up our immune system. Take lignans every day. It's a powder. You mix it with food or with water, filtered water. Take it every day. There's a little scooper in here, and you just take it with your food once a day. Good night formula. Really important to get 3 cycles of REM sleep and deep sleep so you consolidate memory, detoxify your body, and be well rested. Take good night formula every day, especially if you are having a problem sleeping. Chronic sleep deprivation can lead to early onset of dementia. And when you're not sleeping properly, your cortisol levels are too damn high, and so your immune system is down. So you'll get sicker more often, and you age faster. please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the deodorants that I have. I partnered up with Rainbow Herbals, and we have the citrus deodorant, and we have the peppermint lavender and tea tree. This has no aluminum in it, no baking soda in it. It's all natural, ingredients from the Himalayas, and it's a dual purpose product. You use it as a deodorant, but it also will help to detoxify your body. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the deodorants for males and females, use it every day, get a couple bars for your household. So let's see what they're saying about Milton.
I love to serve the best governor in the state of Florida and ultimately the people of Florida. Thank you, Governor.
So we're bracing. What we know we're going to get hit later tonight or early tomorrow morning. It is going to bring a lot of ferocity. It's going to bring a lot of hazards, a lot of damage. You still have time to make the decision to ensure your safety. You do not have to get on the interstate and drive to Georgia. You don't have to drive to Pensacola. You can go to a local shelter, which would be likely tens of miles away. We also have now these state shelters. There's massive, massive amounts of room in all of those shelters. You ride it out for a night. The storm's likely going to be gone on the east coast of Florida by tomorrow afternoon. You're going to obviously have first responders and everyone on the scene immediately and doing what they can. But you're going to be able to get back. You're going to be able to resume your life. But just make sure that you're putting yourself in a situation where you can safely weather the storm. So you still have time. Time is running out. But if you make that decision now, I think you'll be glad you did. Yep.
A lot of people are choosing to stay in Sarasota, Charlotte County. What's your message to those people that are choosing to stay in their homes?
Well, if you're not in an evacuation zone, I would imagine, because there's a lot of population in some of those areas, you know, like Kevin said, if you're going to hunker down like that, you're basically going to be, if you're not in a flood, you're basically going to be concerned about the wind. And this is a strong storm. So if you start to hear popping, if you start to hear trees snapping, you got to treat that like a tornado, and you got to hunker down because you're going to have debris, you're going to have trees, you're going to have things that could potentially fly around and cause a threat to your life. Now, if you are in an evacuation zone,
how many freaking hurricanes have happened in Florida? Do they really need to be told that trees are going to fall down? Electric lines are going to be snapped? Really? That's what I'm talking about. We're run by a bunch of idiots, and he's a highly educated Yale guy. Let's jump into Bloomberg here and see what they have to say.
Don't adequately consider what I call stack value is. You are trying to build and upgrade your grid for more renewable resources, greater electrification. That is, they have to have more capacity, and at the same time to build them back more resilient. Those two things, when you think about them as a stack value, it becomes more understandable, more digestible. Estimates for undergrounding, it's very expensive. Ford and Power White has a particularly extensive undergrounding program underway right now. But you know, it's $1 million to $2 million, depending on which part of the country you're talking about, to underground lines. And most of the lines that are overhead and cause most of the problems are ones that run up and down city streets, commercial areas, that kind of thing. And even in the best case, whether they're hardened or not, you know, oftentimes in major hurricanes like this, it's not just trees toppling on lines, but it's flying debris, hitting poles and lines and things like that. So an event like Milton is particularly problematic, but increased investment can certainly help.
Hey, Mike, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate getting your insights here. Michael Sullivan, he's energy and utilities consultant for PA Consultant. They're based down in Annapolis, Maryland there. So again, the hurricane barreling towards the west coast of Florida. John Tuck and I read the book, The Grid, so we consider ourselves.
Oh, you did? Wait,
we're
we're
experts now. Yes, we're ready.
All right, fine. I'm gonna listen.
The technology looks like 1920.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, really? I mean, can't we do anything? But as Mike Saul was saying, new stuff gets built, getting built on the underground. So, for our good friends in Florida, this is Bloomberg.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the nattokinase. This is synergistic with omega-3. What nattokinase does is it helps to break up clots because it's fibrinolytic, but it also helps to bring down LDL levels and increase HDL levels. So it helps with your cardiovascular health. So please take nattokinase every day. I've added this to my protocol. So please, it's important to really focus on cardiovascular health and fitness. All right. Some of the major diseases of the United States: cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and diseases that are related to lifestyle, like pulmonary diseases because of smoking or whatever. By changing your lifestyle and doing proper supplementation, you can improve your health. So if you want to live a vibrant life, you increase the probability of that when you sleep properly, exercise properly, do balancing exercises, challenge your brain, talk to people in the real world, do mindfulness or some spirituality to calm yourself, because dealing with mindfulness and even like stretching exercises and breathing exercises, you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system. So you're calming your system down. And by doing that, you're reducing the cortisol levels. And you're reducing the amount of insulin that you need. And you're reducing inflammation. So if you do this on a daily basis, you're actually healing your body. Proper supplementation gives you all the nutrients that you need. And like I said, these 3 pillars: neutralize pathogens, soak up those free radicals, bring down inflammation. And you add stuff to that, and you can really, supercharge. Again, everything I sell on my store, right, I use for the supplements. So ubiquinol is something that I've been taking for many years. All right, it's CoQ10, the active form for CoQ10. This is a very high quality product. Now, why do you need to take CoQ10 or ubiquinol? Why? Because it helps to build up your energy levels, helps to improve your mitochondrial health. It's an antioxidant, and it helps to improve your neural health. Very important as you get older. So please, it's synergistic with many of the things that I talk about, such as C60. So please get the ubiquinol, take it every day. It's a component that has been in my anti-aging protocol for many, many, many years. And, you'll see the benefits too, especially when you stack it. I tell you how I'm stacking it. So, take it with the C60 or take it with the NAD+. NAC brings up your glutathione levels, another pathway to soak up free radicals, synergistic with C60. All right. And also synergistic with ubiquinol. All right. Because they're antioxidants, but in different ways, in a different pathway. In addition, it helps to detoxify your liver and your kidney. And NAC will help to reduce or mitigate anxiety. So when you're reducing anxiety, you're also bringing your system back into parasympathetic. And when you're bringing your system back into the parasympathetic mode, you're reducing cortisol levels, reducing the use of insulin and all this stuff, and you're bringing down inflammation. And you'll have better mental acuity because you don't have this anxiety. So please take NAC, boost up those glutathione levels, soak up those free radicals, detoxify your liver and kidney, and reduce or mitigate anxiety. Get yourself into a parasympathetic mode. NAD+ helps to increase your energy levels, and it helps to heal your DNA damage. When we get older, our DNA damage accumulates, and it's harder to repair. You need NAD+ as a supplement to boost that capability to repair DNA damage. Really important when you get older. In addition, it helps to improve neural health. Very important as you get older. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take NAD+. It is synergistic with ubiquinol NAC C60. And lastly, vitamin K2 MK7. Vitamin K2 is really important for your bone health, for your joint health, because it helps with the cartilage, it helps with the ligaments, it helps with tendons. In addition, it also helps with your cardiovascular. It's synergistic with D3. So K2 you take with D3, all right? So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the vitamin K2. All right, what's going on with Boeing?
They're skilled employees, right? So they're hand making aircraft, right? And you would have to if you decide you're going to backfill and train some, you'd have to have people on hand to train the new people coming in to make an airplane well. It's impossible to replace them. And now I think we're in this game of chicken, right? Where like we've talked about previously. Boeing's potentially going to have a downgrade, but look, I think the downgrade doesn't matter as much anyways, right? It's just a credit rating. You can get it back later on. This is the recovery of this company. Cash is dwindling. They have a lot of airplanes sitting in inventory. They need to get back to work. And I think if the workers can find a way to hold on,
I'll tell you, this is a major problem because Boeing is a major aircraft company. Major manufacturer in the United States and part of a war effort. If they go belly up, you got a problem for your military industrial complex. All right. Now, yes, the military industrial complex is, an evil empire. And you know how I feel about the national security state. It needs to be truncated. But we need good manufacturing, especially if we're going to have a war with China. So these strikes and the quality issues that they have is a risk factor on the military prowess of the United States for a war effort. So pay attention. This seems like, oh, it's no big deal. It's just Boeing and strikes and blah, blah, blah. No, it's related to our ability to project ourselves in Asia with a military conflict with China or even a military conflict with Iran. This is a sign that America is weakening. Now, didn't I say that America is being challenged and cursed? Got hurricanes. And some people think that it's, created by the government and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. But the thing is that Americans are being cursed. Now, it can be cursed through means by humans or means by Mother Nature, but it's still being cursed because God can intervene and say, I don't really care what the Americans, what humans are doing. I'm going to do this. All right. And if he wants to bless you, he'll bless you. If he wants to curse you, he'll curse you. It's really simple. All right. So a lot of bad things are happening, especially right before the election. And remember what I said about the election. When you have leaders of countries, there's a special soul root that they get. So, and these soul roots battle in an upper level. There's different levels of the world or universes. All right. And so we have our universe, but there's a universe above this one. Right. These souls of Trump and Harris are battling each other. All right. And what happens, we don't know yet. We'll see. So there's a battling of the souls, and there's a curse that's coming down on the US. And you got these pressure points. The amount of devastation will take years to fix. It took years for Sandy to be fixed in New York. all right? Because it was not just New York City, but it was also upstate and also, you know, New Jersey and parts of Connecticut. But it took years. You had buildings being retrofitted and fixed up after Sandy that took years. You had these generators, you know, outside providing power generation and also heaters, like sometimes the boilers were destroyed that were in the basement of some of these buildings. So you had, you know, kind of like a heating and cooling unit that was outside for years. So you had an electrical system and a heating and cooling system that was outside of the building in these trailers for years. For some buildings, not every building, but definitely in areas that were zone A, where there were floods. So it will take years for this to be fixed up. And so it's going to affect the GDP. It's going to affect the economy, right? Now there will be some rebuild that helps the economy out, but there are going to be many people that can't rebuild for various reasons. There's a curse. Wake up, guys. Wake up. I'm not wrong on this. I'm not wrong on this. And you're starting to see another curse with the military industrial complex. The viability of Boeing is a big deal. Big deal. Wake up. Americans are getting cursed. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the zeolite. Zeolite helps to detoxify your body. It detoxifies your body from heavy metals, chemicals, and toxins. It's a negatively charged molecule. Zeolite is a negatively charged molecule that attaches to positively charged heavy metals, toxins, chemicals. All right. So when you have toxins in your body and they start to metabolize, they start to have a charge. All right. So what happens is that this zeolite will attach to that positively charged toxin, and then it'll allow you to excrete it out in about 6 to 8 hours. Now you can take zeolite every day throughout the whole year, or some people just detoxify their body once or twice a year. It's up to you. If you're going to do it every day as like a maintenance, then what you do is just take a couple drops underneath your tongue, drink it with filtered water, and you're good to go all year round. If you're detoxing like once or twice a year, then take a few drops underneath your tongue, drink the filtered water until you use up the bottle. Do that once or twice a year. It's up to you. All right. But you can take this all year round. Now, what's important here is that you need to stop ingesting the poisonous foods and the poisonous water that's in our environment. All right. Filter your water. The water has many chemicals and toxins and heavy metals that are bad for your body. So filter your water. Now, what I do is I use a 5-level filtration system called Zero Water. I've been doing that for 2 decades. So please make sure that you filter your water. Extremely important. Then the next step is stop eating processed foods and bad quality food. Then start detoxifying your body. There are many ways to detoxify your body through colon cleanses and taking things like zeolite. By taking zeolite, it's going to soak up those toxins, heavy metals, and chemicals, and you'll be able to urinate them out. And you have stopped the ingestion of these things. Now, there are some chemicals you may be breathing in, or that may be in your cooking wear or on your clothing. You're always going to be exposed to somehow, some way. Well, if you just radically reduce your intake of these chemicals, then what will happen is that your body is going to be filtering it out with the zeolite. Your not ingesting as many. So the concentration of these chemicals and toxins will start to diminish over time in your body. And what you'll notice is that your endocrine system is going to start to go up. Your endocrine system is going to be better, and your immune system is going to get better. You're going to feel healthier and have more energy. You're going to have less free radicals because of these toxins you're getting out of your body. Will you get all toxins out of your body? No. But you can radically diminish the concentrations by filtering your water and eating properly, eating high quality food, and doing detoxification methods like taking zeolite and colon cleanses. All right. So it's really important now for individuals, especially if you're elderly and you're taking medication. If you're taking medication, talk to your doctor first and tell them that you are thinking about detoxifying and getting heavy metals and chemicals out of your body. And you're thinking about taking zeolite to be able to bind these toxins. Your doctor is probably going to have to increase your dosage because zeolite might bind to depends on the medication, but it might bind to your medication and bring down your concentration levels. So the doctor might have to increase your concentration levels to have a better baseline, a baseline concentration level. So, or an adequate concentration level. So if you're on medication, talk to your doctor first before you take the zeolite, because you don't want the zeolite to bind to your medication and you're urinating out more of your medication at a faster rate. You don't want to do that. So just talk to your doctor first. If you're not on medication, get the zeolite, start your detoxification. It's really important to maintain that and improve that endocrine system and improve that immune system. Very important. Zeolite, this zeolite is very good, very high quality. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and detoxify your body with zeolite. C60 is a very potent antioxidant. I've been talking about it throughout these different videos. You can get it in extra virgin olive oil, MCT coconut oil, which is the one I have in my hand, or in avocado oil, in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration. You should take a teaspoon of it a day, take it every day. It'll soak up those free radicals. And by soaking up those free radicals, you're going to improve the mitochondrial health in your cell. You're going to improve the cell's processes because there's less stress in the cell. And so your tissues and your organs are going to perform better because your cells are performing better. And your tissues are made of cells and your organs are made of tissues. So you're going to the base of the problem, and that is soak up those free radicals so it doesn't do cellular damage. Now, high free radical problem in your cells could also cause damage to your DNA. So it's important to soak up those free radicals. So this is synergistic with NAD+. Remember what NAD+ does? It fixes DNA. All right? Soak up those free radicals, boost up your mitochondrial health. You'll have more ATP. You take the NAD+, help with repairing your DNA, and those cells are supercharged. Those cells are performing better. And you're kind of rolling back your biological clock. All right? So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take the C60 in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration. It's a very high quality product that soaks up free radicals. All right? It's a major component to my anti-aging protocol. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. That's the end of the transmission for today. Thank you for listening. I was doing, a new format, so hopefully it turned out okay. We'll see how it is after the recording here. But thank you for participating. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing the links. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Boost up your immune system. It's the cold season in the United States, really important. And not only that, follow my protocol. I do it. It's obvious it works. So please go to the store and follow the protocol. Follow my advice and take these supplements, and you'll start to notice that your body is healing. Your body is performing better. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.